I was driving to surprise Amanda for lunch, feeling excited about our 3 years together. We were planning our future, though her friendship with Jacob had been causing me slight concern lately. Then it happened. A car swerved into my lane. Metal crunched, glass shattered, blood streamed down my arm as I lay trapped. In panic, I texted Amanda for help. Her response: "Having lunch with Jacob. Just call an Uber." Before I tell you how my world shattered that afternoon, let me know where you are watching from. Hit like and subscribe if you have ever had that gut feeling something was not right in your relationship. I am Sean, a 29-year-old software engineer from Seattle. I remember the day I met Amanda like it was yesterday. It was at my college friend Tom's wedding 2 years ago. She was a bridesmaid 27, with auburn hair, and a laugh that could brighten any room. We locked eyes during the ceremony, and by the reception we were inseparable. We talked until the venue staff started cleaning up around us. It felt like we had known each other our entire lives. Our connection was immediate and powerful. We exchanged numbers and I called her the very next day. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant downtown. She wore a blue dress that matched her eyes, and I knew I was already falling for her. 3 dates later, I told her I loved her. Some might say it was too soon, but when you know, you know. Within 6 months, we were practically living together. My apartment became our apartment, with her clothes gradually filling my closet and her books lining my shelves. At our 1-year anniversary, we made it official and signed a lease together on a beautiful apartment overlooking Lake Union. We talked about marriage, children, the whole future laid out before us, like a promising road. Our relationship seemed perfect to everyone looking in. We rarely fought. We enjoyed the same movies, the same music, the same food. We had inside jokes that made no sense to anyone else. I would surprise her with small gifts for no reason, and she would leave me little notes around the apartment. We had date nights every Friday, trying new restaurants or just staying in with takeout and Netflix. I thought I had found my forever person. Jacob entered our lives about 8 months ago. He was Amanda's childhood friend who had recently moved to Seattle for a job at a marketing firm. Amanda was thrilled to reconnect with him, and I was happy for her. She had talked about Jacob before showing me old photos of them in high school, telling stories about their adventures growing up together in Portland. The first time we all met was at a dinner Amanda organized at our apartment. Jacob seemed nice enough, tall, well-dressed, confident. He brought an expensive bottle of wine and charmed me with stories of his and Amanda's childhood misadventures. I welcomed him into our lives, grateful that Amanda had a piece of her past here in Seattle. Looking back, there were signs I chose to ignore. The way her phone would light up late at night with his messages, how their inside jokes excluded me from conversations, the increasing frequency of their lunch dates and coffee meetups, but I trusted Amanda completely. I had no reason not to. Amanda had been somewhat distant the past few weeks, working later, checking her phone more often, being vague about her plans. I attributed it to stress from her job as a graphic designer. She had mentioned a big project with tight deadlines. To cheer her up, I decided to surprise her for lunch. She had mentioned a work lunch at La Maison, an upscale French restaurant downtown. But I thought a quick appearance with flowers might brighten her day. As I drove toward the restaurant that Thursday afternoon, I felt hopeful. I had been thinking about proposing soon, maybe over the weekend, during our planned trip to the coast. I had even looked at rings online. The spring sun was shining, a rarity in Seattle, and it felt like a good omen. Yet as I approached downtown, small doubts began creeping in. Amanda had been acting strange lately, changed her phone password, growing defensive when I asked about her day, mentioning Jacob in every other conversation. Still, I pushed those thoughts aside. Every relationship goes through phases, right? We were solid. We were in love. Nothing could shake that foundation. The accident happened so fast. One moment I was driving down Interstate 5, mentally rehearsing what I would say, when I surprised Amanda. The next moment, a blue sedan swerved violently into my lane. I jerked the wheel to avoid it, but at 60 miles per hour, the correction was too sharp. My car spun, hit the concrete barrier, and flipped. The world turned upside down. Metal crunched, glass shattered. The airbag exploded into my face. When the movement stopped, I was hanging upside down in my seatbelt with a stabbing pain in my ribs and warm blood flowing from a gash in my arm. Another cut on my forehead sent blood into my eyes, partially blinding me. Through the haze of shock and pain, my first thought was Amanda. I needed her. My phone had fallen somewhere in the car. With shaking hands, I unbuckled my seatbelt, crying out as I collapsed against the roof of the inverted car. Every movement sent shards of pain through my chest. Broken ribs, probably. I found my phone under the passenger seat screen, miraculously intact. I tried calling Amanda. No answer. My hands trembling with pain and fear. I texted her. Emergency. Been in a bad accident on I-5. Car flipped. I am hurt. Please help. Cars were stopping around me now. I could hear voices, someone asking if I was okay. But I was focused on my phone, waiting for Amanda to respond. 3 minutes later, her reply came. Where are you exactly? With bloodied fingers, I typed mile marker 167. Bleeding badly. Please come. Then her response that would change everything. Having lunch with Jacob. Just call an Uber. I stared at the screen in disbelief. I read it again, thinking I had misunderstood. I called her. Once, twice, 3 times. No answer. I texted again. Please, Amanda. I am trapped in the car. I need you. No response. A middle-aged woman in scrubs had pulled over and was now kneeling by the shattered window. She introduced herself as Diane, a nurse at Harborview. She helped me out of the wreckage, while someone else called 911. As I sat on the shoulder of the highway, Diane applied pressure to the wound on my arm with a clean towel from her car. The ambulance arrived within minutes, but it felt like hours. The whole time I kept checking my phone, hoping for a message from Amanda saying she was on her way. Nothing. The paramedics loaded me into the ambulance. One of them, a young guy named Kyle, asked if there was someone they should contact. I hesitated before giving them Amanda's number. As we sped toward the hospital, sirens wailing, I tried to make sense of what was happening. Not just the accident, but Amanda's response. Who responds to their injured partner that way? The cold realization began to seep in, mixing with the physical pain. This was not normal. This was not love. In the back of the ambulance, memories started flooding in. Amanda staying out late 3 nights last week, claiming work events. The way she angled her phone away when texting. A dinner a month ago where Jacob showed up unexpectedly. The time I overheard her laughing on the phone only to quickly end the call when I entered the room. The new clothes, the new perfume, the new password on her phone. Kyle, the paramedic, noticed my distress. He assumed it was from the pain and increased the flow on my IV, but the medication could not touch the real source of my agony. As we neared the hospital, I checked my phone again. No missed calls, no texts, nothing. The emergency room was a blur of bright lights, urgent voices, and sharp pain. The doctors diagnosed 3 broken ribs, a moderate concussion, a deep laceration on my right forearm, requiring 12 stitches and multiple contusions. They were concerned about internal bleeding and wanted to keep me overnight for observation. Through it all, my phone remained silent. The hospital had called Amanda as my emergency contact, leaving messages that went unanswered. Hours passed. I was moved to a room. Nurses came and went. Still nothing from Amanda. Maria, my night nurse, a kind woman with graying hair and gentle hands, noticed I kept checking my phone. When she came to adjust my IV, she asked if there was someone else she could call for me. The sympathy in her eyes made it clear she understood the situation. 5 hours after the accident, a text finally came from Amanda. How are you doing? No apology, no explanation, no indication she was coming to the hospital. Just 4 casual words, as if I had mentioned having a slight cold. I stared at the message until my vision blurred with tears I refused to shed. I responded with the hospital name and room number, then waited. Another hour passed. Maria brought me dinner. I could not eat. The pain medication made me drowsy, but I fought against sleep, still hoping Amanda would walk through the door. At 8:30 p.m., I received another text. Might stop by tomorrow. Getting drinks with Jacob now. Feel better. Something broke inside me then. A dam of emotions I had been holding back. A police officer, Detective Garcia, had come to take my statement about the accident. He found me in this state, staring blankly at my phone, tears streaming silently down my face. The contrast was jarring. Complete strangers showing more concern for my well-being than the woman I planned to marry. The paramedics had been kind, the doctors attentive. Maria checked on me, frequently bringing extra blankets without me asking. And Detective Garcia, seeing my distress, sat down and asked if there was anything he could do. In that moment of vulnerability, I told him everything. About Amanda, about Jacob, about the texts. He listened without judgment, his weathered face showing genuine concern. When I finished, he did something unexpected. He offered to deliver a message to Amanda in person. I am not sure why I accepted. Perhaps I needed to know for certain. Perhaps I needed someone else to witness what was happening. I asked him to tell her I needed clothes, my phone charger, and medication from our apartment. The officer took down the restaurant name and Amanda's description, promising to report back. While he was gone, my phone finally rang. It was my friend Michael, who had seen a report about the accident on a local traffic app. When I told him what happened with Amanda, his initial shock gave way to a hesitant confession. He had seen Amanda and Jacob together multiple times over the past month, looking more intimate than friends should. He had been debating whether to tell me. Our conversation was interrupted when Michael gasped and said, "Hold on." He had just seen a new post on Instagram. He sent me a screenshot. It showed Amanda and Jacob at La Maison, champagne glasses raised in a toast, her head on his shoulder. The timestamp 30 minutes ago. Caption, "Perfect afternoon with my favorite person." The image crystallized everything. While I lay in a hospital bed, my body broken from an accident, the woman I loved was celebrating with another man, not rushing to my side, not worried sick, celebrating. Whatever last shred of denial I had been clinging to disintegrated. The physical pain of my injuries paled in comparison to this betrayal. I felt like I could not breathe, like the broken ribs had somehow punctured something deeper than lungs. Detective Garcia returned about an hour later. His expression told me everything before he spoke. He explained how he had gone to La Maison and found Amanda and Jacob still there now, sharing dessert. He described their body language, how close they sat, how her hand rested on his arm, how they were laughing. The detective said when he approached their table and identified himself as an officer, Amanda's face had drained of color. Not with concern for me, but with embarrassment at being caught. He explained the situation, that I had been seriously injured and needed items from home. According to Garcia, her first response was not to stand up and rush out, but to say, "He is probably exaggerating. Sean always gets dramatic when he is sick." Jacob had looked uncomfortable, avoiding eye contact with the officer. Some nearby diners had overheard the conversation and were watching with obvious disapproval. The detective, maintaining his professionalism, had firmly explained the severity of the situation, mentioning the flipped car and multiple injuries. Only then did Amanda show any sign of concern, though Garcia noted it seemed more about her public image than my condition. She had promised to come to the hospital soon. The detective left, but parked across the street to observe. He watched as Amanda and Jacob remained at their table for another 20 minutes, paid the bill, and then embraced intimately outside the restaurant before finally going their separate ways. Garcia apologized for delivering this news, but thought I deserved the truth. I thanked him for his honesty and kindness. He gave me his card before leaving, telling me to call if I needed anything else. Amanda finally arrived at the hospital around 11 p.m. She had not brought any of the items I had requested. She stood awkwardly at the foot of my bed, her expression more annoyed than concerned. "I am sorry about your accident," she said, "but you could have just called an Uber. You did not need to send the police to embarrass me in front of everyone." I looked at this woman I thought I knew, this stranger wearing my girlfriend's face, and suddenly I felt calm. The pain of betrayal was still there, but now accompanied by a clarity I had been missing for months. "Did you even care that I could have died today?" I asked quietly. "Do not be so dramatic, Sean. The hospital would have called if it was that serious." "They did call you. Multiple times. You never picked up." She shifted uncomfortably. "I was busy. With Jacob," I said. Not a question, Her eyes narrowed defensively. "He is my friend. You have always been jealous of him." "I have never been jealous, Amanda. I have been trusting. Too trusting. Tell me honestly what is going on between you two." The directness of my question caught her off guard. She stammered, tried to deflect, but under my steady gaze finally broke. "Fine. We have been seeing each other. Not physically, but emotionally. He understands me in ways you never could. We connect on a deeper level. For how long? A few months, since he moved here. Every suspicion confirmed. Every doubt validated. Yet instead of more pain, I felt relief. The uncertainty had been worse than the truth. "I want you to leave," I said calmly. "Go pack your things from the apartment. I will give you 2 weeks to find a new place." "You cannot be serious," she scoffed. "We have one fight, and you want to throw away 2 years. This is not a fight, Amanda. This is you having an emotional affair while I was bleeding on the side of the highway. This is you choosing drinks with him over being by my side in the hospital. This is me finally seeing clearly who you really are." Her expression shifted from dismissive to panicked as she realized I meant it. She tried another approach, her voice softening. "Baby, I am sorry. I was just confused. Jacob means nothing to me. You are the one I want to be with." I shook my head. "Michael is outside. He will make sure you leave and only take what belongs to you. Please do not contact me again." Her facade cracked, then anger, replacing the fake contrition. "You will regret this, Sean. You will never find anyone who loves you like I do." "That is exactly what I am counting on," I replied. Michael, who had been waiting in the hallway, entered as she stormed out. He stayed with me that night, sleeping uncomfortably in the hospital chair despite my protests. My phone buzzed repeatedly with texts from Amanda, alternating between anger, guilt-tripping, and pleas for forgiveness. Eventually, I turned it off and felt a strange sense of peace, despite everything. 2 months passed. My physical recovery was steady. The gash on my arm healed, leaving a scar that would fade with time. My ribs mended. The concussion symptoms subsided. My emotional healing took a different path, less linear, but equally progressive. Amanda moved out completely while I was still in the hospital. Michael and other friends helped me rearrange the apartment afterward, removing all traces of her. She tried to contact me multiple times during the first month, her approaches evolving from angry to apologetic to bargaining. I maintained my silence. Through mutual friends, I learned that her relationship with Jacob imploded just 3 weeks after our breakup. Apparently, once the thrill of secrecy was gone, so was their so-called deeper connection. She tried to reconcile with me then, showing up at the apartment, unannounced with tears and promises. I politely but firmly asked her to leave. My recovery became a time of reflection and growth. I started therapy with Dr. Reynolds, who helped me process the betrayal and recognize the signs I had missed. I reconnected with friends I had unknowingly distanced myself from during my relationship with Amanda. I focused on my work, earning a promotion I had been working toward for months. Strangely, I felt grateful for the accident. Not for the physical pain or the lasting scar on my arm, but for the clarity it brought. It took a crisis to reveal the truth of my relationship, to show who would be there when I really needed them. Maria, the kind night nurse, had given me her number before I left the hospital, not as a romantic gesture, but as a friendly offer of support. We met for coffee a month after the accident and discovered a shared love of hiking and old science fiction movies. Our friendship developed naturally without pressure or expectations. The contrast between her genuine concern and Amanda's indifference was a constant reminder of what real care looks like. I learned valuable lessons through this experience. I learned that love is not just about the good times, but about who stands by you during the worst times. I learned that trust should be based on actions, not promises. I learned that sometimes losing someone is not a loss at all, but a redirection towards something better. Most importantly, I learned about self-worth. No one deserves to be an afterthought in their own relationship. No one should accept being second choice to the person who should put them first. Crisis does not create character, it reveals it. And Amanda's character was revealed in that simple text, "Having lunch with Jacob, just call an Uber." Life continues to move forward. The apartment feels more like home now than it ever did when Amanda lived here. I find joy in simple pleasures. I had forgotten morning runs along the lake, weekend cooking experiments, game nights with genuine friends. There is something freeing about rebuilding your life on your own terms. Jessica, the nurse I met during my recovery, recently joined me for a day hike in the Cascades. There is something refreshingly honest about her, a genuineness that makes me feel safe opening up again. I am taking things slowly, cautiously, but for the first time since the accident, I am looking forward rather than back. I sometimes touch the scar on my arm, a permanent reminder of that pivotal day. But it no longer brings pain, just reflection. Sometimes the deepest wounds are not the ones that leave physical scars. And sometimes true healing begins only after we acknowledge how badly we have been hurt. If you are watching this and going through something similar, remember that you deserve someone who drops everything to be by your side when you need them most. True love is not just in the saying, but in the showing up. Have you ever experienced a moment that revealed someone's true character? Share your story in the comments below. Like and subscribe if this resonated with you, and share with someone who might need to hear this message today. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings.